Let's start with the eye-catching statue that has its back to us. Legs mid-stride, chest thrown forward, posture oozing with the confidence of a civilization that doesn't know it's destructible. It's a pose that seems to be inspired by the Borghese gladiator, Rome's most iconic symbol of military power. But look closer. This guy doesn't have a head. The head is on the floor below. And as for the hands, the right one is broken at the wrist and the left grips a shield that's been busted. This image of a headless empire in a scene of chaos, continuing to lurch forward on pure momentum, is stark, and for many people will resonate very strongly with what's happening in the world in 2026. This painting was completed in 1836, it's nearly 200 years old, but the American artist Thomas Cole painted a warning that has sadly remained relevant through generations. Here's what it actually means and why it remains so resonant in the world today. This is the course of empire, destruction. This work is part of a series that Cole spent years building. Destruction is the fourth painting in a 5-part collection, a collection that depicts the full lifespan of a civilization, from savage wilderness to pastoral innocence, to imperial glory, to violent collapse, the part we see here, and finally to desolate ruin. Look at this fourth panel and look at it closely. It's easy to look at this painting and see a relatively straightforward story. Enemy arrives, city falls, the end, job done. But what Cole is showing here is something much more disturbing. Can you see the banners? Green on the temple side of the river, red on the side of the palace. 2 colours, 2 sides, 2 factions, both from inside the same city. Citizens at war with each other simultaneously with the invasion. The foreign fleet attacking from the water is a third force entirely. They're just arriving to finish off what is already spectacularly falling apart. Let's pause for a moment and look back at the previous painting in the sequence. Part 3, called The Consummation of Empire. It shows this empire thriving at its absolute peak, but hidden in the bottom corner near a fountain, you can see 2 small boys roughhousing. Look at what they're wearing. One is in red, the other is in green. In the context of this painting alone, there's no reason to pay much attention to them. But in painting those boys, Cole planted a seed, one that showed the division waiting to spiral, waiting to fall out of control, even when things were going well. That means that when an enemy fleet arrives, they find a city that had already been slowly but surely cracking from the inside. There's a bridge in the Consummation of Empire over which a triumphal procession is marching. It's a happy scene. But in destruction, one arch is gone and a temporary crossing can be seen to be straining beneath the weight of soldiers and refugees attempting to make their way across. In the water, horses and people drown. One warship burns while another is rammed and sunk by a superior vessel. What Cole is showing us is a structural analysis of how dominant systems actually fail. Internal fractures grow and grow until an external pressure, which might have been perfectly manageable in healthier times, comes along and easily capitalizes on its weakness. Let's consider the American political landscape of the last few years. We've seen 2 consecutive administrations seemingly operating on 2 completely opposing theories of what America is and what it owes the rest of the world. We've seen contradictory strategic signals being sent to allies. We've seen a foreign policy in the Middle East that has shape-shifted multiple times in the space of a few years, and we've seen both friends and adversaries of the USA having to frantically recalibrate in response. The red banners and the green banners in this painting could really represent any number of things in this moment in time. If we look at Cole's own written description of this piece, we see a sentence that has often been quoted by historians over the years. It says simply that luxury has weakened and debased. This is a structural comment, not a moral one. In Destruction, the civilization has collapsed because an extended period of unchallenged dominance has eroded its ability to facilitate the kind of disciplined and coherent decision-making that it needs in order to keep evolving and surviving. Affluence was mistaken for permanent security, and the institutions of power were focused more on rewarding themselves than on defending and maintaining their foundations. The United States military budget for 2024 was thought to be an almighty $884 million, the largest military expenditure in the history of human civilization, adjusted for inflation. And yet, it could easily be argued that in the 2 years since, that budget has not translated to the kind of political outcomes that were perhaps being targeted, not least in the Middle East. Air campaigns have not changed facts on the ground, maritime deployments have not deterred missile fire, and the general global feeling is one of unsettled chaos, of incoherence and uncertainty. Meanwhile, back in Cole's painting, in the foreground we see two figures sitting at the base of a fountain. One, dressed in green, rests wearily on the other, who is dressed in red. The person in red is dead in the water, his blood tinting it. The survivor in green is not celebrating, he is not victorious. He is looking out into the middle distance with the expression of a man who has finally grasped the full weight of what has unfolded, of the tragic path this civilization has taken. Somewhere far in the background, just visible beyond all the smoke and warfare, is open water. See how undisturbed and still it is as ships move freely. That calm, peaceful horizon is still perfectly attainable for anyone in a position to work for it. Thomas Cole was born in 1801 and died in 1848. He was born in England but moved to America as a teenager. America is who he was painting for. The Course of Empire series is thought to be a direct response to Jacksonian America's triumphalist self-image, its loud 1830s conviction that the country was somehow exempt and immune to the historical cycles of rise and fall that had brought previous civilizations to their knees. This painting basically says that every civilization believes it is immortal, right up until the moment it becomes clear that it is not. Mapping that warning onto 2026, the parallels are clear. The global infrastructure that the United States built after the Second World War, the dollar system, the security guarantees, the institutional architecture of the IMF, the UN, the WTO, all functioned as the ongoing engine of American power because other nations found it all to be pretty reliable. They accepted American security commitments because those commitments were, to begin with, credible. But every instance of strategic incoherence, every abandoned red line, every contradicted ally, every decision that has put domestic political theatre over long-term institutional credibility has degraded the trust in the very infrastructure that makes American power function. The damage is cumulative over time, and past a certain threshold, it might be irreversible. So in summary, across the Course of Empire series, and especially in this painting, Destruction, Thomas Cole presented a civilization that could not see its own destruction approaching because it had confused momentum with permanence. Look at that statue one more time. It's still striding forward. It still thinks it can dominate, but its head's on the ground. What comes after Destruction is the fifth and final painting in the series, Desolation. In that, there are no armies, no conflict, no drama of any kind, just ruins, weeds, and the silence of a world that has moved on entirely. Cole left the final canvas undated, perhaps because he knew the possibility of society reaching that point was not a question of if, but when. Looking at this painting through a screen doesn't do justice to the masterpiece. You need to see it in person. You can get a stunning, high-quality reproduction of Destruction or the entire Course of Empire series over at viewcrypt.com. Link is in the pinned comment below. See you next time.